I am a toy fan. I'm a huge toy fan, mostly in the category of action figures, but I love all toys, and it's a big reason that I went into the toy industry as a professional. I was one of the lucky ones who was making toys and was collecting the product he was working on. And I know a lot of you know me as someone who worked on Masters of the Universe toys. It's something I did at Mattel that gained a lot of publicity and a lot of spotlight because the toys were made by an adult collector, aimed at an adult collector. So why am I making a video about Star Wars when I'm known as the He-Man guy who worked at Mattel? Well, I still have a lot of experience with Star Wars toys.
I consider experience.
And some of it is professional. I did work on Star Wars toys. I didn't work on 3 3/4 at Hasbro. I've never worked for Hasbro. But I worked at Jakks on their Big Fig line. And more importantly, I've been actively collecting Star Wars toys my entire life. And I've been obsessively collecting them since 1995. In fact, I have a whole series here on my YouTube channel going wave by wave through the quote-unquote modern Star Wars line, talking about them, about collecting them, what it was like collecting them, and some professional insights that I can now apply retroactively to it. So that's a big reason I'm also making this video today. I have seen a lot of chatter online about recent developments in the 3 3/4 vintage collection line from Hasbro, which I actively collect. And I wanted to try to provide some insight from my time working in the toy industry because I hate seeing my fellow fans kind of spin their wheels and be angry over things that might be out of their control. So why is it that we keep getting so many re-releases in the 3 3/4 line? We do get the occasional new sculpt, but not as many as we'd like. And sometimes when the brand managers switch over as much as they do, which is a lot in the toy industry, not just at Hasbro, toys just literally get forgotten and accidentally left out of the line when they're promised to us. So why is the vintage collection getting so little love, if you will, from Hasbro, and we wind up with re-releases, slight repaints, slapped on vintage card backs, and offered to us with what I'm calling the Kodak moment paint job. Looks really nice, absolutely, but do we need the same figures over and over and over again with slightly better photorealistic faces? Why is it that the 6-inch figure, on the other hand, gets so much love and so much tooling and so many new characters coming out, even books from the Legends? Jackson here is a character that 3 3/4 figure collectors have been asking for decades, yet we're getting him first and maybe only in 6-inch? By the way, geeky moment here, going back to my time on Motu, a big reason I pushed to get Plundar into the Motu Classics line is because I personally wanted to beat Hasbro at getting the highly bright-colored Space Bunny bad guy in the line, and looks like I did that by like 6-7 years. I thought he was coming like any moment. So yeah, that was kind of a personal thing I thought would be great. All right, back to Star Wars. Enough talking about Motu in a Star Wars video. So Han Solo Endor, he's just been announced at Hasbro's HasCon last week as returning once again, and everyone have your shots ready because we're definitely playing that drinking game here on Spector Creative where I say the 80-20 rule, where 80% of toys are purchased by kids, and that is absolutely especially true with Star Wars. Star Wars' vast audience is children and parents and gift givers who are buying toys meant for children. The collector Star Wars is a very small slice of the pie. Granted, it might be larger than the collector for something like maybe Power Rangers or Minecraft, but it's still much smaller than the kid audience. And Hasbro, like any large corporation, has to look at an investment risk when it comes to which product they're going to support and put on shelf, because there's costs involved. And most of the Star Wars fans have now grown up and we're kind of like, old men looking for the toys that we collected when we were kids. There's also, and I'm guilty of this too, a feeling of you owe me. that we've been around for years, if not decades, buying up Hasbro/Kenner's Star Wars toys. And we've been handing over our money to them, and in return, we've been getting some really great product to put on our shelf or, put in tiny little drawers and only look at every once in a while. And the nonverbal agreement is Hasbro in return is going to give us a complete collection. We are loyal fans and our loyalty should be rewarded. We should be getting a complete collection with every figure from the original 101. I know they're saying 96, but actually 102 if you count Blue Snaggletooth. And we're patiently waiting. Well, in the real world, it's not exactly the way the toy industry works. While toy companies do love their fans, in the end, it's not about appeasing the fans as much as we feel emotionally as fans. It's much more about profit, because most large toy companies like Hasbro and Mattel and Jakks are publicly owned companies, and they are more loyal to the stockholders than anything else. Their job is to have profits. So imagine for a moment you're a parent. Maybe you are a parent. I'm a parent. You could be a parent. Maybe you don't have to imagine. So you're in a toy store looking for a Star Wars toy for your child, and you see this 6-inch Endor Han Solo on shelf for $19.99. Looks really cool, has a soft goods cloak, very articulated, etc. Right next to it, you see this 3 3/4 Han Solo for $13.99. Well, there you go. Which one are you going to pick up? Which one has the price value that you're going to purchase for your child? The answer is pretty obvious, with 3 3/4 and 6-inch now creeping up on each other's price point, while there have been tons of 3 3/4 Han Solo and Endor over the years. With the introduction of the 6-inch scale, the value for a parent for a beloved character, and yes, Han is an absolutely beloved character to kids, just like Baby Shark might be, well, they're going to want to get the most bang for their buck, the best toy for the amount of money they spend. And how do they know that Han is a beloved character for kids? Well, and this is a big thing from my actually working on Star Wars lines and, going up to Lucasfilm and the whole 9 yards, getting prepped for Episode 1 and Rogue One. They do, or rather did, a ton of surveys. But they don't need to do that anymore because now they have Disney Plus. And with Disney Plus, with all of the Star Wars content they have, they know exactly what people are watching, how long they're watching it, where they pause, where they rewind, and it's very clear which characters are more popular than others, and they can focus the merchandise more on this than they've ever been able to do. They basically know everything about their fan base now, or at least those who have Disney Plus. Yes, there are Star Wars fans that don't have it, but enough do that they can extrapolate. So the addition of this gives them huge insight. It's why we're seeing less and less product based on the new movies and more product really based on the original trilogy, because this is the one that's watched the most, and they know this from Disney Plus. So we continue to get the same figures that we've already had, but now repacked on vintage card backs, because this is also a significant savings when it comes to production. It's very expensive to make things like tools. They cost as much as a luxury car. Even a 3 3/4 figure is going to cost, for a tool, upwards to $50,000 to $100,000 for a fully tooled figure. So when you're looking at price and value that you're going to offer to the consumer, putting that tooling into something like a 6-inch figure makes a lot more sense for a large company, because you're going to be able to offer a product that has more price value to the larger segment of the toy buying population. And while we 3 3/4 fans want a complete set, we want every alien from Jabba's palace, every skiff guard, well, the best way to conclude and look at this is to really look at the 12-inch G.I. Joe line. So it had a very similar emotional connection and collector group that really loved the scale. They wanted more of these. They were very vocal. They wrote letters. They shouted online. They went to conventions. And Daryl DePriest, yes, that Daryl DePriest, who worked on Star Wars for years, is also a huge G.I. Joe collector. And he did an interview where he explained the decline of 12-inch. So I want to read his quote here. It's very important and applies. Hasbro is a big company with shareholders. We can't make everything that we'd want to. We have to put our design resources where we're going to be most productive. Unfortunately, the economies of scale of G.I. Joe, especially 12-inch G.I. Joe, doesn't make it, creating new 12-inch G.I. Joe, a viable proposition for us. In 1994, when there was a 30th anniversary of G.I. Joe underway, that was a much different time in G.I. Joe collecting, where there was a much bigger base of active collectors. 10 years later, when we did the 40th anniversary line, we launched that with anticipation that we would reemerge a lot of fans. And initially, we thought we were. But the reality is, even at the time when we had the 40th anniversary line out there, the 12-inch Joes were finding a much bigger audience to kids than they were for fans. It was still a very much kid-driven line, but we were doing fan product. But the sales tampered off. And what they showed Hasbro senior management is that the 12-inch business really was a very niche business in the world of boys' toys. So we had to shut it down. Sales didn't sustain it. And I'd say 10 years later, the situation really hasn't changed. So while Daryl was discussing G.I. Joe, you could literally drop in the word Star Wars 3 3/4 into his quote about G.I. Joe 12-inch. It's the exact same thing. Years ago, the audience was bigger, but it was also still kids. It was always kids. Look, I want a complete collection just as much as everyone else. I've been collecting 3 3/4 passionately since 1995. And to get all of the figures from the original collection is an absolute goal and a dream come true. Well, not a dream that's not come true, but one that I really want. And it's not that our expectations are wrong, it's just that the reality of toy making and toy purchase habits aren't in sync with our passionate collector habits. So yes, we all want mustache Bespin Guard, but when you look at the buying habits of parents and gift givers, this scale and these obscure characters don't fit in with those. And that's kind of why Hasbro has to put their money where their sales are. Well, I hope this video explained a little bit more about why 3 3/4 is, I wouldn't say on the decline, but at least it is not the priority that we all kind of hope it is. If you like this video, please do give it a like and a share. I answer every comment, so leave some below and we'll discuss. Thanks for watching.